بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Inshallah, we continue with the Tafseer of Surah Al-Baqarah, and inshallah ta'ala we will be looking at the ayat that were remaining regarding the Hajj and the Manasik, inshallah. So let's share the screen. So if we look at the surah, the overview diagram of the surah, the central theme to remember is that this is regarding the surah Al-Baqarah revealed in Medina is so the surah is revealed at the beginning of the Madani period, immediately after Hijrah, for approximately 2 years initially until Badr. And then we mentioned that some ayat, parts of it are later. So this surah is essentially building the society, the Muslim society, from the foundation upwards, from Iman to Islam, and giving them a purpose. But the nation without a purpose is useless. And after that, the means to attain that vision, infaq and jihad, have been mentioned. So I'm sure you are aware of that now. Inshallah, we have repeated more or less every lesson. So we are looking at the aspect of Islam in the pillar of Hajj in this section. So if we look at the place where we are here in these ayat here now, 196 to 203, we will look at infaq. After this, we will look at infaq as well later on. So also I mentioned that throughout this surah, after the middle of the surah, when the Muslim Ummah have been addressed, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, these four strands have been repeated: Iman, Islam, Infaq and Jihad, repeatedly. Okay? So we should be able to hopefully appreciate that. If we go to the surah, the ayat. So we looked at this ayah, but we'll start from here anyway, inshallah, 197, and we move on. الحج أشهر معلومات فمن فرض فيهن الحج فلا رفث ولا فسوق ولا جدال في الحج. So Hajj is during the well-known months, meaning that these months were known for Hajj. Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, and before that Shawwal, where the people would start to prepare for Hajj because the distance was far for people and they would travel. So these are the well-known months of Hajj. فَمَنْ فَرَضَ فِيهِنَّ الْحَجِّ. So whoever now intends to do the Hajj, fulfill this obligation, then once the person has worn the ihram, فَلَا رَفَثَ, then there should be no intimacy, وَلَا فُسُوق, and no sin, no disobedience of Allah, وَلَا جِدَالَ فِي الْحَجِّ, and no dispute and fighting, etc. وَمَا تَفْعَلُ مِنْ خَيْرٍ يَعْلَمْهُ اللَّهُ. Whoever does any good, Allah knows it. Meaning this whole journey and this whole act of ibadah is essentially giving the believers the opportunity to do good, khair. And whatever khair you do, Allah, He is watching, He is absolutely aware, so He will reward for this. وَتَزَوَّدُوا, and you should take your provisions for the journey. Zad is the provision that you need for a journey. And you know, I mentioned last time, famous book Zadul Ma'ad, the provisions for the return to Allah. Zadul Ma'ad. So tazawwadu means take your needs, your provision, what you need in the journey, for the journey. So one tafseer is of this, فَإِنَّ خَيْرَ الزَّادِ التَّقْوَى. Indeed, the best provision is taqwa. So one tafsir is that you should take your own means to the journey of Hajj, because they had a misconception that because we are going to do Hajj, so we don't need to worry about anything, Allah will take care of us. Yeah, but this is against the concept of tawakkul in Islam. Tawakkul in Islam is to do your effort, fulfill your effort. So acquire all the means at your disposal, but then your reliance is on Allah, believing that these means in themselves have no ability. Yes? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Nothing has the ability, but Allah gives. So tawakkul, if we believe in Allah and we obey Him to the best of our ability, and we then leave the outcome to Allah, this is tawakkul, number one. You should write this. Number two, if you take the means and you rely only on the means, this is shirk. And number three, if you don't take the means and you say Allah will provide, this is disobedience of Allah. This is disobeying Allah. So take your means, and the best means, the best provision for your travel is that if you take your provisions, then you will be saved from asking others. So this is the meaning of taqwa. One meaning of taqwa is you would be saved, because taqwa means to save yourself, yeah? You will save yourself from asking people, begging people. The other tafsir is that the best, you should take your provisions, everything, physical, mental, financial, means, everything that you can. There is something that will fall down. There is a need for everything. Yes, you take it, money and your provisions, you book everything. But the best of these things that you are taking with you is taqwa. Meaning you are doing this simply, purely for the sake of Allah alone. Yes, I hope this is clear. That on this journey, you can, for example, people may buy the best luggage, the best clothes, the best hotel, the best khair zad. That's fine, but no taqwa. Just going for holiday. So there's no taqwa. So taqwa is that you're going for Allah and you are seeking His bounty, His reward. For Him, you are doing this to please Him. And you are going to try your best to fulfill the manasik of la rafatha wa la fusuqa wa la jidala fil hajj. وَاتَّقُونِ يَا أُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. Allah Ta'ala is saying, so therefore have taqwa of me, O people of understanding. Ulul albab, we mentioned many times. One way of understanding is people who understood the core of something. They get to the essence of the matter. They get to the heart of the matter are ulul albab. Yes, ulul albab realize that it is not, like Allah Ta'ala mentions, لَن يَنَالَ اللَّهُ لُحُومُهَا وَلَا دِمَاؤُهَا in Surah Al-Hajj, that regarding the sacrifice, Qurbani, the Adhiya, it is not the blood or the flesh, the meat that reaches Allah, but it is the taqwa that you have for Allah. You do it for Allah. This is the whole objective here. The people who understand that, then they have understood the matter properly. وَالرَّاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ. They have understood not only the manasik, the rituals, but they have understood the spirit and the motive and the purpose behind it. So unfortunately, we have this misunderstanding, and sometimes we look up to this concept that, and you hear this, people will praise the people of the past, which is not wrong, but it is wrong to have this concept that, oh, they had to travel for months and it was so hard, and it was so hard, the Hajj was so hard, and today is so easy, as if to belittle the Hajj of today, because you think ease and hardship is the essence of the Hajj. This is nothing to do with the Hajj. The ease and the hardship is just your context. You're living in that context. So you shouldn't feel guilty if you're going by plane and not going by foot. Some people, they say, oh, such and such did Hajj on foot. Fine, if the person, that is all he could do, that's taqwa of that person. Your taqwa is not assessed by these things. So we have many misconceptions, unfortunately, about Hajj and the whole thing. Khair. Allah Ta'ala is then telling us regarding Hajj, because the Quraysh, they had messed up with the manasik of Hajj that Ibrahim a.s. had taught, and they had introduced many things, and they had changed many things. So the Ashabul Nabi ﷺ, being aware of this and being people of taqwa, they felt that maybe it is not right that if we go to Hajj and we also entertain, or we indulge in some sort of business, we engage in some business. I mentioned last time that one of the Sahabi, he asked the Prophet ﷺ that my business is we hire the camels and then we also go for Hajj. So is there anything wrong with this? And then the Prophet ﷺ, he waited until this ayah was revealed. لَيْسَ عَلَيْكُمْ جُنَاحٌ أَن تَبْتَغُوا فَضْلًا مِّن رَبِّكُمْ. There is no blame on you, there's no harm if you are seeking Allah Ta'ala's bounty, Allah Ta'ala's blessings in the means of business transaction. So the other thing is that because we have dunya concept, we differentiate the two and we separate the two. Deen and dunya is not separate, they are one. This is, in fact, when we separate deen and dunya, we are actually following the secular mindset. No, deen and dunya, they're just one. Allah has created us in this dunya, in this means, the world of means, Darul Amal. This is the place of action. You have to work to earn. As long as you earn halal, this is a blessing. This is in fact a form of ibadah, because you are doing it as Allah wants and you are providing for that, your existence that Allah gave you as an amana. But there's no harm in business transactions at Hajj, as long as it doesn't become the prime objective, of course. Yeah. فَإِذَا أَفَضْتُم مِّنْ عَرَفَاتٍ فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ عِندَ الْمَشْعِرِ الْحَرَامِ. Allah Ta'ala is saying, so when people, they go from Mina first, they go to Arafat. And the Quraysh, who were the custodians of the Kaaba, they had this za'am, they had this wish, they had this baseless idea of themselves that we are superior to the layman. So we don't have to go to Arafat. We go to Mina, we don't need to go to Arafat. These people can go to Arafat. Yeah? Allah Ta'ala is saying, when you have finished from Arafat, you go to Muzdalifah, Mash'ar al-Haram. And when you get there, you fadhkurullah in the Masjid al-Haram, you remember Allah, fadhkuru kama hadakum. You do this as Allah has guided you to remember Him. So you would join the prayers in Muzdalifah. Yeah? Maghrib and Isha. Join, shorten and join. This is kama hadakum. Allah has guided you. This teaches us that the essence of ibadah is the worship of Allah and is the obedience of Allah. Kama hadakum. As Allah has guided you. So do not invent matters of worship. Remember Allah, worship Allah as He has guided you through His Qur'an and His Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. Do not introduce like the Quraysh had introduced many things. وَإِن كُنْتُم مِّن قَبْلِهِ لَمِنَ الضَّالِّينَ. And indeed, before this guidance has come to you to tell you which manasik are acceptable by Allah and which were introduced by the Quraysh. Before this, you were far away from the actual essence and practice of Hajj as Allah wants it to be done. Because Hajj is labbaik Allahumma labbaik. We are here for Allah. We serve you, Allah. We want to worship you as you want us to worship you, not the way I want to worship you. You see, this is a big issue. Many people want to worship Allah the way they want to worship Allah. And they say, what's wrong with it? So the problem is that you are imposing something on Allah بغير sultan, without any authority and without any knowledge from Allah. So no, what Allah Ta'ala He loves and what He dislikes, He has sent Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam to perfect this guidance, to guide us to what is best and what is not good for us. And so our job is to listen and to obey and to benefit from that. That is the best. ثم أفيض من حيث أفاد الناس واستغفر الله. So when you depart from the place where all people will depart from, you should depart from the place from where all the people depart. Meaning go from Muzdalifah, from Mina, go to Arafat. Go to Arafat. Don't think you're special. You don't go to Arafat. No, you go. Afad is an interesting word. Let me give you some detail about this. Afad al-Nas. Afad al-Nas is from the root fa ya dad. Fa ya dad. Fadal ma means for water to gush out and flow. Fadal nas. It also, it means also that the teardrops flow. Have you mentioned regarding the crying, if you like. And in that token then, this means the return of a large group in unison together. meaning that as if they're flowing together. Afad al-nas. So it's a very beautiful word that has been used. It depicts the visual image that you see in Hajj, when people are traveling as if a wave of people is traveling. ثم أفيضوا من حيث أفاض الناس واستغفر الله. So come, leave that place from where all the people leave, meaning Mina, to go to Arafah. واستغفر الله, and Arafat is all about seeking Allah Ta'ala's forgiveness. واستغفر الله. So in Arafat, and Arafat is Hajj. Yes? Al-Hajj Arafah. Without Arafah, the standing on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, the day of Arafah, there is no Hajj. So for the other manasik, if a person misses them, there can be some expiation, some kafara. But for Arafah, there is no kafara, there's no Hajj if you don't meet the Arafah and you stand in Arafah. And in Arafah, it is all about standing and reflecting and praying to Allah, dua to Allah, dua. Arafah has a very comprehensive meaning, the word Arafah. Arafah is from Ain Rafa, which means to know, to recognize. You know, somebody who you know, he is ma'ruf. You know this. Somebody you don't know is munkar, you are unaware of this person. Yeah? So, Arafah, there are some traditions that say, and Wallahu alam about their authenticity, that when Adam and Hawa were sent to the dunya, they met in Arafah. They recognize each other. Wallahu alam. There are some things that I'm just trying to give you the meaning of the word Arafah. And then Arafah is also to recognize that this is the place where we will meet. To recognize this is the place. And you will know everything on that day. You will realize what you did. So seek Allah's forgiveness on that day. And as the Prophet ﷺ, he said that whoever fulfills the manasik of the Hajj and the Hajj is accepted by Allah, then Allah Ta'ala would forgive that person as if this person is a newborn baby. Yeah? Without sin, except of course for the rights of others that the person has not fulfilled. So in Islam, Hajj and the person who becomes Muslim from non-Muslim, for this person also Allah Ta'ala would forgive him as if this person is newborn. And there's one third one, I can't remember. Situation. Khair. Inna Allah Ghafur Rahim. Allah Ta'ala, He is most Ghafoor. He will cover your sin. Rahim, He will show you the most loving mercy to you. Protect you. فَإِذَا قَضَيْتُمْ مَنَاسِكَكُمْ, and when you have finished all the rituals, you have come to the end, فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهِ, you should remember Allah together. كَذِكْرِكُمْ آبَاءَكُمْ, just like your remembrance of your forefathers, because what the Quraysh, etc., all the people before the Prophet ﷺ came, they used to do, they used to get together and they would now boast about the greatness of their forefathers, their tribe. that our forefathers have done this and they were this, and our tribe is this and we have done this. So they would mutually, they would boast, tafakhur, yeah, to boast mutually to see who's the best. So they would remember their forefathers. Allah Ta'ala is saying, no, when you have fulfilled your manasik, then remember Allah. As you remember your forefathers, أو أشد ذكرى. In fact, you should remember Allah more than that, with more love for Allah. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. So your devotion and your loyalty and your what's the word I'm looking for? Zeal and passion that you show for your forefathers, for Allah, it should be much more than that, because He is really worthy of praise. Nobody else is really worthy of any praise. It is Alhamdulillah in the end of the day. فَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا وَمَا لَهُ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنْ خَلَاقٍ. And then from amongst people there are those who say in their dua, "Oh, our Lord, give us from this dunya." But they have no share in the hereafter. Because these mushrikeen, they did not believe in a hereafter. Kuffar didn't believe in the hereafter. So their hajj was all about dunya. Even if they made dua, it was just for dunya. Give us more wealth, give us more children, give us more honor, give us more cattle. Yes, give us dominance, give us more fame, give us more glory. This was all dunya centric. And then Allah Ta'ala is comparing this, the disbeliever asking Allah to the believer, وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَقُولُ رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. And then there are those who are the true believers who ask Allah, "Oh my Lord, our Lord, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً." Oh Allah, give us in this dunya the best. وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً, and the best in the hereafter, of goodness and blessings, and وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ, and save us from the punishment of the fire. So this is very, very well-known dua. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. And the Prophet ﷺ, he would recite this during the tawaf. Yes, on one of the corners, or rather on one of the sides of the Kaaba, I think from the Yemeni corner coming to the Blackstone. So the Prophet ﷺ, he would say this, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. So the true believers, they are being told that you ask for the good things in this life, and you ask for the good things in the hereafter, and you seek refuge from the hellfire. So Hajj is not just about the dunya, and also Allah Ta'ala does not want you to just ask for the akhirah. He wants you to ask for the dunya, the good things in the dunya and good things in the akhirah. Now this Rabbana Atina Fid Dunya Hasana, many of the Salaf have mentioned what they think that goodness in this life is. Yes, so there are many aqwal, many sayings of them. We can't say for sure which one is the most accurate, because unless we have hadith to say that, yeah? But some of them say that this means the ilm. Oh Allah, give us in this dunya ilmun nafi'an, beneficial knowledge. Amalan mutaqabbalan, give me the action which will be accepted. Some people say this is the best thing in the dunya is the good husband or good wife, because they will give you strength to remain obedient to Allah. Yes? So you can see now the relationship with goodness in this life is that it will lead to a good hereafter. You see that? So there's nothing wrong with asking for goodness in this life, as long as this goodness will translate to goodness in the hereafter. So this is the believer's mindset. So the believer wants a good house, good car, everything, nothing wrong with it, because this will make the life easy for the believer, and the believer would appreciate Allah and he would serve Allah more. Nothing wrong with it. But the main focus is that we do it here for the hereafter, so that in the hereafter we would get the reward of this and we would be saved from the punishment. So it's very important that when we go to Hajj, that we don't just, some people, they just overemphasize the du'as for the dunya. Overemphasize. So, Allah, please, I have this headache, remove it. I have this problem, remove it. That's fine, you should make dua for that. But that's all they make dua for. This is not the essence of taqwa at all. Should be both here and in the hereafter. Regarding these people, Allah Ta'ala says, أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمْ نَصِيبٌ مِّمَّا كَسَبُوا. These people who make this dua, they would have a share from what they have earned. So you should understand, what does it mean, a share from what they have earned? So it means that a person may do all the good deeds and ask for the dua, but the person doesn't know how sincere he or she was. So the person would only get a share depending on his or her sincerity. Wallahu sari'ul hisab, and indeed Allah Ta'ala, He is very swift in His hisab. Sari'ul hisab is mentioned many times in the Qur'an. It means that, number one, before you know it, your hisab will come. Before you know it, the time of your hisab will come. اقترب للناس حسابهم وهم في غفلة معرضون. Surah Al-Anbiya, in the beginning, it mentioned this, that the time of reckoning your account is coming so quickly, close, but people are turning away heedlessly. So one meaning of Surah Al-Hisab, the time of Hisab is very clear, near. The other is when the Hisab is taken, don't think that Allah Ta'ala will take him long to take Hisab, because there's so many people. Like nowadays they're trying to, COVID testing takes so long because there's so many people. No, for Allah Ta'ala, there's nothing. Allah Ta'ala, He is Surah Al-Hisab. Surah Al-Hisab also means He will give you the full, without delay, what you deserve, without delay. And then وَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ فِي أَيَّامٍ مَعْدُودَاتٍ. So in these specified days, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, and 13th, remember Allah. فَمَنْ تَعَجَّلَ فِي يَوْمَيْنِ فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ وَمَنْ تَأَخَّرَ فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ. So whoever wants to stay for the 2 days, the 11th and the 12th, yes, and then return to Makkah, this is okay. And whoever wants to stay until the 13th, they can also stay and then come to Makkah. There is no issue. Wherever is ease for you. So don't feel obliged to stay for the 3 days. Don't think that 2 days is not enough. It's up to you. So Allah has made it easy. فَمَنْ تَعَجَّلَ فِي يَوْمٍ فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ وَمَنْ تَأَخَّرَ فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ لِمَنِ اتَّقَى. The objective is you have taqwa. Whether you go early or later, you are doing it for the sake of Allah, not for any other reason. Not to, for example, to show that, oh, I stayed for 3 days. or oh, I can't stay anymore, I'm fed up. Huh? So liman ittaqa. Do it for Allah Ta'ala's sake. Fattaqullah. Again, see taqwa mentioned again and again in this. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّكُمْ إِلَيْهِ تُحْشَرُونَ. You should know, remember that you will be gathered to Allah. Because this is the whole objective of Hajj and Arafah, that you remember the day that you will all be gathered, because you are gathered here in Arafah. How many million people they gather in that area? I think a few million. On the Day of Judgment, Abdullah ibn Abbas, he mentions, and Huma he mentions regarding the Hashr, that the whole earth would be made flat as a pancake, if you like. Flat, absolutely. And then the people will gather and nothing would be hidden. There's no tree, there's no hill, there's nothing, it's just plain field to see. Hashr, gathered, and then Nashr. Nashr, then the results are announced publicly. Nashr. So remember, you would go back to Allah. This you have been reminded through the Arafat, through the Hajj. That's why Yawm al-Arafah is so important for Hajj. To rehearse, essentially, Hajj is they say journey of a lifetime. It means that you live your life in those few days to think, where did I start, where I'm going. That's it. And to rehearse, practice that Iblis will be there. I have to fight Iblis, jihad. So you throw the pebbles. So when you think deeply about every mansak, every ritual rite, R-I-T-E, rite, there is a deep hikmah behind it for every human being that obeys Allah. So inshallah we'll stop there at 2:03.